right now. Not many people. And if you did, you probably want a high frame rate anyways. 4K is kind of a must for next gen. I think a lot of people are going to be in the market for a new TV. These consoles help to push forward those new TV sales. Anyway, this is the cable you're going to need. Then we have the stand. Now the stand is quite interesting the way they did it. It will allow you to stand up, obviously. Your PlayStation 5 to save a little bit of space, even though I think the thing's going to be a little bit tall based on what I've seen to this point. This can also be used to change the orientation, so you can have it laying down as well. So a couple different options for you there. Now, I saw the teardown video, and they were able to store the components in here, and it's just beautifully engineered and designed. Go watch the teardown, in which the actual designer or engineer of the product explains the thinking behind it. It's a very therapeutic experience, not unlike Unbox Therapy. You guys got a table. I found it very inspiring, in fact. Anyway, here is the console. It's time for next generation gaming. Man, I covered this so much on Loot Later. I talked about all the developments and leaks, and we talked about games, and we talked about exclusives, and we talked about everything. But now we have the console, and it's hidden below this this tiny little sheet here. We're moments away. We're seconds away. I feel like I'm doing a presentation. I mean, people have seen what it looks like. It's not, but it is. This is a special Unbox Therapy presentation. Here we go. Ooh. All right. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the PlayStation 5. It's tall. That is a statement. Nobody that comes over to your house is going to miss the fact that you have the latest game console. That is for certain. Once again, this might be my favorite white I have ever seen. This is like it has a subtle gray tone to it. A subtle kind of, almost like as if you were doing a mock-up. Well, Mo, you just saw, I got a car in almost the exact same color. With black and white. Stormtrooper vibes. Now, when you do a white color, I have one pet peeve that happens sometimes if it ever ventures into the yellowish tone. That ain't my ideal white color. When it goes into the cooler tones and almost has like a bluish undertone or a grayish undertone, then I like it. So anyways, that's just my opinion on the color. Alright, let's look around the outside of the device. Over here you see two USB Type-A ports on the back of the unit. We have a dedicated LAN port. This is that ever-important HDMI port for that 4K 120. And this is where your power cable connects. So the power brick, obviously, integrated into the design of the unit. You're just going to need one simple cable and the console itself. We have the PlayStation logo up in the top left corner there. And then the front of the device is going to bring one more USB Type-A port, a little lightning bolt to indicate you can charge from it. You also have, of course, a USB Type-C port. That's some faster throughput, I believe. And then we have a couple of buttons down below for eject and power, and then the disk drive capable of Bluetooth. If this were the digital-only version, then this wouldn't be there, and you would actually have a completely symmetrical design down the front. So the other thing that I learned from the teardown video, storage on here expandable through an internal slot for a larger SSD. Alright, so this is what it looks like standing up. Now, if I did put it on the stand, it would do what? It would go how? Do I have to read the thing for that? This looks like it's too far up. Is it supposed to clip? Oh, by the way, this is huge, but it might not be as heavy as you expect. I'm just going to put that out there right now. Look at the one-handed grip on there. Oh. Here we go. Oh, interesting. Horizontal position, vertical position. Make sure the hook is illustrated. The hook. So this one slides onto there, and then this springy section goes down, and then we place the PlayStation. And then that, look at the way the hooks, look at the engineering. The hooks bite into PlayStation itself. Oh, okay, so this is what's cool about this. If you see how I spun it around, it exposed the little screw. This is the little screw from the teardown video. Magic. They designed it into the base. Now, if I was to mount it permanently in a vertical position, this would poke up through here, and then I would remove this little nub on the bottom and screw into there with this flat head, and then it would be sort of permanently in the vertical position. I'm not going to do that right now because I also want to show you sort of how the horizontal position works, but anyway, just to give you a better look, this is what the vertical positioning looks like. So whether or not this saves space for you, or maybe it's harder to have it in this position, at least you have the option of more than one. Now in the horizontal setup, you actually have the hook over there, and then I have the PlayStation like this, and I hook this guy like this, and then those little nubs come into play. And of course this is because you have the curved side to it, right? So it's not going to sit flat very easily, and so you have it like that, and you got a nice little flat setup to it. Now the other benefit having the stand, it just creates a little bit of space. So when it comes to cooling, which was such a big part of the design of this particular device, you're just you got a little bit more space around the unit to dissipate heat. So there may be some function within the form. A lot of people having questions around why they go for this shape, but maybe there's more to the story when it comes to cooling and so forth. So anyway, that's the laydown version. It obviously looks cooler in the upright stance, but it's cool that it can do both. People want to know that it can do both. I just realized on the inside of this panel over here, we have the same pattern following through from the grip portion of the controller, where you can see the squares, individual little squares, triangles, X's, and circles. It's just a nice little touch for those that are looking. It's a nice little attention to detail. Alright, so let's do a quick comparison. I told you I have a PS4 Pro over here. Now this is a big PlayStation 4 because it is the Pro model. This was 4K capable as well, as you're aware. But still, the new PlayStation sort of dwarfs it. Now maybe it's not quite as deep as this model right here. Yeah, the PS4 Pro is a little bit deeper, but otherwise thickness and height goes to the PlayStation 5 quite easily. So if you were curious about scale, that's a quick comparison for you versus the previous generation. It's a total departure style-wise. They have been fairly boxy, I guess, on the recent models. The original PlayStation 3 had curves to it. This is a different approach. It's less of a hump. I mean, this is kind of your alien, your futuristic alien object. It's almost like a statue or a sculpting. It's unique in its shape. It's not the obvious approach. It's definitely not the most minimal approach. There's some imagination in here. Some are going to appreciate that more than others. Some are going to say, I wish I just had a box. Well, that's not what this is. And I personally have appreciation for both the minimal and the obvious, but I've also got appreciation for the ambitious and the imaginative, and that's sort of where this one lands for me, is in that area. They definitely did not play it safe with this alien life form. We have new PlayStation 5 stuff. PlayStation 5 teardown. that it's got the internet talking. That's what they love. You tear it down. Let us take a peek.
Yep.
Let us look inside. We want to see what this is all about. And of course, we still can't get our hands on it. His hands all over it. Granted, he's one of the main. I think he's the VP of hardware. It's PlayStation, so it's understandable he's got his hands all over it.
Yeah.
He went inside. He took a dive. Showed how to disassemble the thing. Showed an enormous ventilation system. People. First of all, can I just say about the scale? Because a lot of people they were saying it's huge. Next to the guy, but I sort of felt maybe it's a kind of a smaller guy as well. I'm just speculating, and so maybe that makes it look a little bit bigger. But either way, it seems like it's big for good reason because they seem to care so much about cooling. A lot of conversation around cooling. There was some cool stuff that popped out in the disassembly video as well, like this stand that they designed, which has a little.
He was an activist with dreams of justice. She was a dream with their feet on the ground. An improbable love determined to triumph. This November 3rd, they will reap their own destiny. Biden-Harris, change is possible.
That was going on as far as, everybody wants to converse about Ice Cube situation, and they're not actually talking about the point that he's making. And there's other topics correlating with voting that I wanted to get into as well. Of course, my other documentaries are already talking about that. Part 2's coming. I believe there might be part 3 to part 2. It depends, because I'm adjusting that video right now. Once I adjust that video, then I'm going to release it. I just wanted to fix something up really quick before I release it. Then I'm going to release that one to the black vote. A lot of people think that their vote counts, and I'm still trying to understand how. What makes you think that your vote counts when you can't right now name any president in history that has done anything for our people in general? And I'm not talking about just handing us a check, Like, for example, here's another example. Every single president know that we are going through, for example, this is just an example, that we are going through a form of police brutality year after year after year, and nothing changes. Nothing. And it doesn't matter the president. It doesn't matter if it's Democrat or Republican. Like, what do you think is going on here? Like, what makes y'all think that they're actually going to do something for us? And I have to stress this issue, but I do like some of the things. Like I said, with Ice Cube's situation, as far as his plan, from what I read, reminds me of ADOS a lot. Like I said before, I wasn't disagreeing with ADOS. I just felt as though it needed to be adjusted. And same thing with Ice Cube's plan. It does need to be adjusted. It's a few things. But what I like about what he said is that he's open to more ideas being presented for the plan. And I like the fact that he's saying that this is not a Democrat or Republican thing. He just wanted to try his hand with, letting both sides know, look, man, we tired of y'all being paid high dollars off of the labor of us and our ancestors. So he's acknowledging it all. And I appreciate that. I really do. I really do appreciate that. And anybody calling him a coon, unsubscribe from my channel. He's not a coon. He's actually doing the right thing. He's not on neither side of the political spectrum. So basically that means he's coming in independent with a plan that he and a lot of other people that I will be going into in the real live stream that he came up with. Came up with the authentic plan. It's not fully completed. It's one page, but it's pretty good. It's very good. And I'm gonna repeat this again. If you think that Ice Cube is a coon and you listening to me right now, unsubscribe from my channel. I don't want you here. You're on the wrong side. I'm gonna tell you that right now. You're on the wrong side, and I ain't to be played with. I know what he's doing, and I can tell when somebody's legit. I can tell when somebody legit. Now, D.L. Hughley, he getting paid. All them people that's coming up that so-called black that's coming against Cube, they getting paid. Clearly. Ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Because O'Shea, yo, O'Shea came up with that shit, yo. But it was a contract with Black America, and so Cube put together this contract, this agreement, and he said he reached out to both political parties. Wow, that's crazy. Well, it's because Trump's platinum plan for Black America is Ice Cube's idea. The foundation of that is Ice Cube's contract with Black America. So Ice Cube sat down and thought up a contingency plan for some sort of financial platform specifically for black people, specifically for African Americans, not people of color, because there's a lot of people of color in America. But he specifically said African Americans who are descendants of slaves, they need to have their own contract with America. And he well, what Ice Cube said was he came up with this agreement. He went to both political parties. One political party said, "This sounds good. Let's talk about this after the election." And the other political party said, "This sounds good. Let's talk about this now. Let's sit down and talk about this." And it was the Trump administration that said, "Hey, let's see if we can go through with this." And then Trump announced the platinum plan. And so now people are like, "Oh, Ice Cube is working with Trump and he's supporting Trump campaign and Trump 20." And Ice Cube's like, "That's not what the fuck I'm doing, bro." Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't give a fuck who it is who's going to get this shit passed. Whoever is willing to work with me, that's who I'm going to work with. I don't give a fuck who it is. I know what I want. I have an agenda that I want to achieve. There is a specific goal. We have a specific goal that we want to accomplish. Who's going to help us accomplish this goal is the people I'm going to work with. And that's all he said. And now everybody's like, "Oh, Ice Cube's a sellout. He's on Trump's dick, blah, 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 blah." Hmm. Yeah, why not jade instead of platinum? Hmm. And that's the thing too. Like when Trump even said it, when Trump announced the platinum plan, I didn't know where that shit came from. I didn't know the origins of it. I thought, that was something that his think tanks came up with. And when he put the numbers out there, it's just like, psh, that's money, but that ain't enough money for everybody. You know what I'm saying? Y'all, um, Dr. Claude Anderson estimated that America owes us $13 trillion. 13 trillion is what is owed to black America. $13 trillion. And the platinum plan calls for 500 billion. So yeah, it's not the best way to go at all. It's barely scratching the surface. 500 billion compared to 13 trillion, it's nothing. It's almost nothing. It's something. It is something, but it's not nearly what has been estimated to be owed to us, yo. But once again, the simple fact that Trump is willing to help uh, this program, this contract, this plan actually come to fruition is amazing to me. That he even said that shit. The simple fact that he even said it is like, whoa, you know, like that shit is crazy. Obama never said he had any plan specifically directed towards helping the financial wealth gap of black America. Never said it. No president has ever said that shit, yo. It's the craziest thing. So when Trump said it, what the fuck is that? Exactly. Trillions. They're trillions of dollars in debt to us. What up, bro? Trillions of dollars of debt to us. But Ice Cube is trying something. You know what I'm saying? He's trying something. And I don't know. I was actually listening to some old Dr. Khalid Muhammad when he was talking shit about Ice Cube and called Ice Cube a punk. And that shit was funny as hell. He said Ice Cube wasn't gangster. Everything. Everything, bro. So Dane Calloway is giving his uh, opinion on what's being said.
Yeah, Q doing the right thing. He is. He's doing the right thing, and basically that's stuff. And I've been saying this for years. Okay, now I'm not looking for any credit, but I've been saying this for years. What I've been saying is that we do need to start the dialogue. We do need to start the dialogue because it should be okay. For example, it should be this way. It should be this or else. Now, if they do not acknowledge that everybody knows about Ice Cube's plan, if you haven't read it, read it. If it doesn't get acknowledged by the president, whoever the president is going to be, that should that should force you to do it on your own. Because I'm going to tell you right now, my side of the story is we don't need this government. And what I mean by that is we don't need their approval to govern ourselves. We don't need to join any political party to get things done for us. Now, if anything, the government can back away. Okay? Just step to the side. Don't get in our way of trying to make things happen for ourselves. Once again, If Ice Cube's plan fails, that should make every single person that shares the same hue of complexion as me know, that should automatically let you know that you now have to do it on your own. Come out of that Democratic Party, or Democrat Party, come out of that Republican Party. Yeah, we know, ancestors used to be the Republicans in the 1870s and 1880s. But by the time the 1890s came up, they pulled the plug. Who was they? The government pulled the plug. We had congressmen, just like similar to what we have right now, but we had a great deal of brown complexioned people as congressmen in the United States government, 1870s, 1880s. Look at what happened. Now, here's the thing. Matter of fact, let me say this to y'all really quick. Think about this for a second, man. When was the Voting Rights Act?
That was 64, 65. But what he's saying is 100 years before that, in 1865, once we were emancipated, our see, this is so they don't give all the definitions for emancipation here. Emancipation, the fact or process of being set free from legal, social, or political restrictions, liberations, freedom, the freeing of someone from slavery. But then at the same time, when you look at why do minors get emancipated? How can a 16-year-old be emancipated? The most common way to be emancipated from your parents is to petition a court. To be emancipated, you will need to be at least 14 to 16 years old, depending on your state, and be able to prove that being emancipated from your parents is in your best interest. And see, so in this situation where a child can be emancipated from their parents, you're not being like freed from bondage or slavery. Your ability to be a part of the federal government's process now falls on you. So now you're out of the care of your parents and into the care of the state and federal government. And so now you have to follow all their laws and restrictions, and not just your parents' laws and restrictions. So the Emancipation Proclamation of 1865 was not exactly letting people become sovereign citizens, self-governing citizens. So they were taken from being property to being wards of the state or federal government, and still not having complete citizenship. So it wasn't exactly the freeing of the slaves to start with. So the wording in that whole shit, like people just said, oh, the Emancipation Proclamation freed the slaves, and then proclamation means a public or official announcement, especially one dealing with a matter of great importance. The public or official announcements of an important matter. So that's all it was. It was an announcement that the slaves are now property of the state. The proclamation of their emancipation was, hey, look guys, I'm publicly saying that the states will have control over the slaves now, and not individual property owners. But after the Emancipation Proclamation, there were some black and brown people in political offices making decisions, especially in the southern states where the slave population was so fucking high, and these people were educated to an extent where, were they completely literate? No, but they understood the workings of their social structure and how things were organized and how they fucking functioned and had opinions on that shit. And so right after slavery, during the period of the Freedmen's Bureau, they were setting up individuals in political positions to make relevant changes, but uh, when the Klan and all that shit came back and all these fucking hate groups and shit just started taking the power away, and then they start implementing all these different voting laws that restricted blacks from voting, and then slowly over that century they got us back into a more subdued position where we weren't members of any important governing bodies. And then that's why 100 years later, in in 1964, 1965, we're trying to get these voting rights restored when we previously, on paper, had all these rights. And so this whole voting thing, it's just this weird cycle, and it's still don't feel like that shit is meant for us, yo. Like that shit really is made for us to be heard and to have situations altered to really benefit us as a ethnic group, yo.
Now, I want y'all to think about this time period. When was the Voting Rights Act? Then once you figure out that date, you state it. I'm waiting for somebody to say it in the chat. Because as soon as you say that date, I want you to think about how did our ancestors become congressmen prior to the Voting Rights Act? How did our ancestors become congressmen and franchisers in all of the southern states here prior to the Voting Rights Act? That's right, the Voting Rights Act was 65. So, once again, 1865, right? How did our ancestors become congressmen prior to having the right to vote?
We already had the right to vote.
Listen to that, guys. This is what I was pointing out in these most recent videos. And then the question that I brought back to my viewers was, who are the franchisers and who are the franchisees? For those researchers out there, research every single thing I put in part 1. I dare you. Soon as you do it, you're going to find that answer. And you're also going to have the answer to why our ancestors were in office as congressmen. 1870s, I'm going to say this again, 1870s, 1880s, and all of a sudden, 18 1990s is when they implemented white supremacy, that bull crap, and literacy tests, even called HBCUs then. So wait a minute, did those congressmen have degrees? Wait, did those congressmen in the 1870s and 1880s have to take literacy tests in order to become a congressman?
Was there real?
Who's gonna stop me? Look at that.
For the United States of America? No. No. And I want my people to understand that. So that means that, yeah, we were prospering. We were going ham. And somebody lied at the top of the 1900s and called it a Great Depression. What was the Great Depression? See, if you try to Google that now, they give you graphics galore, but are they really showing you how? Somebody lying. Somebody is lying. How come we had mayors, governors, senators, congressmen, representatives of each state in the South and the North? Prior to so-called black people allegedly having the right to vote a whole nother 100 years later. I dare you to ask any president, anybody that's running for any political position, ask them that question. They're hiding something. And I'm going to point it out. Part 2 is going to be pointing out, I'm not going to give it away, but I'm just going to state a little bit. Part 2, I'm going to be exposing the infiltrators. What led us to wanting, okay, this is a very good question. What led us during the civil rights era, during that era, right? What led us to go run to the polls to vote? And then that's one question. And then the second question is, who were they voting for? Keep in mind, we had a lot of people during that time period that was of colleges and universities that created organizations that were committees. That's a good word. They were committees. Small groups of so-called black people got to have been created organizations like SNCC, Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. Dr. Martin Luther King was the president of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. I think that's what it's called. Yeah, conference, I'm right. And keep in mind that Dr. King's focus was gaining human rights. And then all of a sudden, things changed. And people started pulling him to try to influence our people to go and vote. But see, the question is, to go and vote for what? And to go and vote for who? Now, if you also notice, a lot of those people that were running those organizations, I'm going to say a few of those people that ran those organizations that you saw coming about during the 1960s. It was a lot of them, not just the SCLC and SNCC and CORE, and it was a few of them. But just think about it. A lot of them became politicians in more ways than one. Right? Am I right or wrong? So was the vote for them or for the liberation of our people? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. And how does that make sense during a time period where you're fighting against police brutality? During the 1960s, you take these college students, by the way, they had money to go to college, so that means they came up in a middle-class society, not necessarily growing up, to discover any racial divide. Not in their hindsight. Just like racism has to be taught, it works both ways. If they don't experience something, if they never experienced anything, how did they become educated on it? Listen to what I just said. These people that created, and I'm not going against our people in full. I just want you to know the infiltration. I come at everybody. I'm not here to make friends. I'm gonna tell you that right now. I'm not here to make friends. If I see you doing something fraud, I'm gonna call you out on it. Especially when I got records of your BS. So once again, the idea was to make sure that they detoured Martin Luther King from marching. His marches did stand for something, which was human rights. They detoured him away from that in order for people, in order for them to gather people to go register and vote. But once again, I'm going to say this again, having all of those people who were poor, keep that in mind, who were poor, to go register and vote. For who? For what? Any political person during their campaign will feed you everything to pain, anything that you're experiencing. Police brutality, environmental racism, okay? You name it, all the way down the list, you name it. They're going to pinpoint all of your pains in order to make it sound good, make it sound appealing. So you can run to them polls and let's go vote that person in. And once again, I dare anybody to tell me one person that changed anything for our benefit. Ever since 1776, not one thing has changed. We ain't got to go back and forth with these stories. We ain't got to go back and forth. These folks know what's going on. But you know what the problem is? Our people keep asking for things. Asking to be acknowledged. Asking to be accepted. Like, what happened? Okay, here's another example, right? Why were people led to desegregate schools that our people were not a part of? What was wrong with you going to the school that you were already involved in? Why do you have to go, let's just say, for example, I'm just, giving an example here, 20 miles down the road and go to an all-white school? Why'd you have to, why? Why? Oh, to show that, blacks should be in here too with these white folks? I don't understand. What was the point? If schools was there for both, difference? Why did you have to desegregate? See,
I never really understood desegregation either. And I mean, I have tons of white friends and white family members who I love dearly. I love them dearly. But I still think like desegregation was probably the worst thing for black people, yo. In hindsight, throughout the years, it's just like, yo, like he's saying, why is it better to go learn with someone else when if we have our own schools, we can teach ourselves how to solve our own problems. You know, like we have problems that are specific to us. Why don't we educate ourselves in such a way that we can solve our own problems? But instead, we want to go into a educational institution that will only teach us to solve the problems of other people and will always take the brightest individuals amongst our group and use our innovation, creativity, and imagination for their benefit, but never to solve our problems for our own people. And so I've always thought that shit was weird, even with like goods and services. Once again, he talks about the civil rights movement and like the lunch counter sit-ins where people were like, "Oh, are you gonna let me eat at this particular restaurant?" Even though it says, "Yo, we don't want black people here." And then that's the thing is like, there's plenty of black-owned establishments you can go spend your money with. Why would you want to spend your money and have lunch and eat somewhere where you're not welcome? I just don't. I don't understand that. I never got it. I don't think I ever will. Just like I have friends who have businesses and they're the first people I spend money with if I want. I have friends who own a restaurant, you know, and 3 out of 5 times if I'm going out to eat and I'm in the area, I'm going to go eat with them. For one, their food is delicious. For two, it's a black owned business and they need business just like anyone else. One of my other friends owns a clothing boutique. And when I want some nice high fashion shit that I know I'm gonna spend a couple dollars for, I go spend my money with him. Why? For one, he has the hottest fucking fashions. And for two, it's a black owned business. It's like, what the fuck? So once again, like desegregation, I just never understood like why are we going to make these other people rich and wealthy off of our money? And now studies over the years show that the black dollar doesn't circulate in the community for longer than a few hours. Motherfuckers in the black community get paid within a few hours. That money is already outside of our community, spent with some other people who will use it for investments and sending their kids to college, mortgage payments and shit like that. Where in other ethnic groups, when they spend money, their money circulates amongst themselves for days and weeks at a time. So, I mean, I get, wanting to live amongst people and cohabitate and share in experiences and cultures. I understand all that shit, yo. But then that's why you got Chinatown and Little Italy and all kind of shit like that. Yeah, segregation, bro. Like I say, conceptually, it just seems like it would have been the better option. It just seems like that would have been the better way to go. At least until we were able to have like really strong, fortified uh, ways of protecting our wealth. You know, if we had really, really robust uh, social structures and institutions, such as a strong banking institution just within our own community, uh, education institutions, um, our own little towns where we had our own policing and judges and things like that. Like, now, if we could have built up like really strong communities like that, more TOSAs and things, that if those type communities could have survived longer and continued to thrive for generations, and we would have built generational wealth, then, you know, living amongst other people or having other people come live in our communities wouldn't be a bad thing, because once again, we're not dependent on you. We're just not. And then we have enough control over our community and over our lives where we would never feel threatened educationally, politically, financially by any outsiders at all. But it's like even in our own so-called communities, our own hoods and ghettos, like the Arabs, the Indians, and the Chinese, they own most of the businesses. And that's the thing, is like we're not poor, we're just not self-sufficient either. But these are things that we have forgotten and that are not taught, for the simple fact that we have been integrated. First, we were, you know, captured and subjugated to a place of servitude and left in the darkness from education for so many generations that we lost knowledge of self. But now that we've slowly begin to regain knowledge of self, it's like just trying to acquire that is so difficult in itself. We haven't been able to relearn other necessary survival tactics, such as, you know, economic communities and building self-sustaining situations for ourselves. So, I mean, we got a lot of work to do still. Lots and lots of work. And these motherfuckers ain't gonna give us no help. Once again, that's why when Trump even said that shit, it's like, what? Did he say something specifically for black people? I cannot believe that. Cannot believe this man. He trying so hard right now. This motherfucker is reaching. He is really reaching, yo. Trump is not. What you want me to say? Black people, you want me to say specifically for black people? I'll say it. But you won't denounce white supremacy. You just said stand back and stand by. So that's what I say, man. You gotta watch this, man. Yo, this motherfucker's funny acting. You real funny acting, because you just said some shit that I like. Like I say, where there's shit when you can't help but agree with this motherfucker. I don't agree with you saying stand back and stand by. I do agree with you saying that there needs to be something done specifically for black people. You know what I'm saying? This motherfucker trying to please everybody. He want that vote though. I'll say it. Biden would never say it. Biden, he would never say that. Me, I'll say it. I don't give a fuck. What do you want me to say? The platinum plan? God damn it, I'll say it.
Okay, here's a good question. When did segregation start? Was it segregated during the time period our ancestors were congressmen and congresswomen? Well, it was congressmen. It was all men. Congressmen? Did segregation exist during that time period? 1870s, 1880s. See, this is what I'm talking about. Look at how that changed. All of a sudden, you had an issue. You had a racial issue that came later. Notice I said came later. Because if there was a racial issue, then how did our ancestors become congressmen? 5 years after slavery was allegedly abolished.
What are you getting at, Dane? Wait a minute. Wait.
And all the rest of the stuff.
Wait a minute. What is he trying to say? That is a good question. So how is there a racial issue if we had black congressmen 5 years after slavery? I never thought about that. Um hmm. I know a lot of the more hateful slave owners. I can't even say it like that because that don't even make no sense. All these motherfuckers was hateful. I don't know, Dang. That is a good question. I couldn't imagine like, being a slave owner and then, 5 years after the government says slavery's over that, oh, well, this dude is the fucking mayor now. Or, the kid of some guy who was my slave is running for Congress just 5 years after slavery ended. That is a good question, Dane. What my man say? I'm just here to make you think.
How do we get in office? How are we in office if segregation hold on, listen. If segregation existed, racism existed, if that all existed during that time period, how were our ancestors in office? Look, guys, y'all don't have to believe me. You can look this stuff up. That's what I want you to do. I dare you to look this stuff up. I dare you.
And your new iPhone charger? Use Anchor Nano instead.
I know it's people out there that's scared of me because they see how I'm talking now. I don't beat around the bush. I'm going to tell it for how it is. Where in history? See, that's why it's so important for you to know your history. That's why. That's why. Because otherwise somebody could force feed you that bullshit and you're going to fall for it. All of a sudden, it became a racial problem. It wasn't a racial problem to begin with. Those foreigners were always faking as if they wanted to be our friends. So we didn't have, now, it was wars that happened. Yes, I'm not denying that. But was it a war over racial discrimination? Or was it a war because one party disagreed with another? Or one party came out of nowhere and the party that originally resided there like, who this? And said, let's go get them. Was there a racial issue then? Or, see, for example, when you colonize a land, what are you doing? Because according to those records, they were never considered colonizers. The title was changed to colonizer by the mysterious writers of American history that you find here in the U.S. Everywhere else, like, huh? What? Colonizer? They called them settlers. They saw some land that may have been unoccupied and said, this might be safe to be here. Let's build up a little town. Hopefully we can get good with the locals. Logical, right? But what you guys have to understand is what went wrong. It was a deal that was made between our people and the foreigners that were coming here. It took a very long time in order for the initial scheme that they were trying to do, as far as foreigners are concerned, which was to take these lands over and claim it as theirs. But it took years. It took years to get that done, because you're talking about millions and millions of people already residing here versus the sprinkle of people that came here at the top of the 1600s. So since history goes, they captured 20 and odd so-called Negroes, that they brought those 20 and now came 60 plus million so-called blacks here in America. How does that make sense? And then I exposed 400 years of slavery, and some of y'all think I'm making it up. No, they made up the 400 years of slavery, including your Bible. See? Remember, once again, the story says that the first African slaves arrived in Jamestown, Virginia, 1619. Not no 1400, 1500. Oh, the Spanish did this and the other. No, they said the Negroes See? Rub their history right back in their face. That's how you know they lying. 1619 from what time period are you referring to with 400 years of slavery? With this government. And this government is only 244 years old. I'm not going, once again, I'm not going to beat around no bush. I'm going to tell it like how it is. If you think I'm lying, good. Go look it up. But once again, I'm going to put out the documentaries while I'm in calm voice and I'm talking to you like this. In 1619, I'm going to talk just like that. I got my emotions in those videos too, but just not like this. This is the reason why I normally don't go live. But I'm going to break it down to you. Now, I didn't share videos, people. I didn't share the videos with Ice Cube. I let them know that I got the paperwork. I have the research. Come get me. Come get me. Let's get them stuff done. I'll put out an offer out there to let lawyers know that we can. I'm not trying to sue the government for money, but I just want to sue the government to let them know that I know, and we all know who the slaves were now. It was the disenfranchised children. Very few adults. Listen to this, guys. Very few adults. The majority of the slaves were children. And I have the proof, and I will take it to that Supreme Court. And all I want, I just want it documented. That's all I want. Because people need to see that. That was our children. Our ancestors were children. The reason why they used children, and I told you, what video was that? I just told you this. I gave you the records. I told you that they waited until the woman was 18 years old and the male was 21. It's documented. Listen to that. They waited till they were 18 and 21. I got videos of 8-year-olds saying that they working out in the field, picking cotton. In the 60s. See, that's the slavery. There you go. There you go. And the reason why these so-called franchisers were able to get away with it is because they hired children. And what I mean by hired is that they had to report it back to the government. So they just showed them the copies of their promissory note. That's it. That's all it was, promissory note. Because what type of money were you using in the 1800s? When the Federal Reserve notes ain't come to the 1900s. So were they buying these slaves or trading them? Y'all gotta understand that. See, that's what makes it even deeper. It's our children. It was our children. It was our ancestors as children that they used. And here's the kicker. Here's the kicker. White folks also. White folks also. Then you see, go Google this right now. Go. I dare you to use Google this time. Use Google. Pull up them pictures of our beautiful black women, so-called black women. I gotta use that term because y'all keep using it. I can't stand it. It's a status. It's not a color. It's a status in this government, meaning you're dead. Huh. The status of white, meaning you're alive. They gonna keep you floating. We know it's a status because how are Ethiopians considered white? How are people darker than me, probably dark? status now. Dane Calloway ain't making that up. It's right in front of you. See? You chose to think it was about skin complexion this whole time. And they spend billions of dollars keeping you thinking that it's a racial problem. It was never a racial problem. This is about right and wrong. And you think a politician gonna change the law when history says otherwise? No, Dane, Trump got our back, Dane. How? Who? You said the same thing about Obama. You said the same thing about Obama because he shares the same skin complexion as you and I. And look what happened. What? Huh? What more do you need to see? I don't care if Joe Biden or Trump getting off. Whatever. It doesn't matter. What's going to change? They can talk that talk all day long. They ain't nothing but entertainers getting paid to waste your time. And what's crazy is that these same things that I keep bringing up was brought up during the 60s. But everybody was drifted to move in a different direction. As if voting is going to happen. Make some changes. No, we got to get the black people in there, y'all. Vote him, he black. Vote her, she black. How is that going to change something? How? When history says otherwise. Now, well, everybody can make a change. Okay, we're not talking about the individual. We're talking about the government. See? Let's stop putting it on Trump and stop putting it on Biden and put it where it needs to be. It's the government. Whole Congress. Isn't that why our ancestors made these treaties with? Was it with a president of Congress? President don't make no moves here. If the president is in charge, there wouldn't be a governor in each state. Hold on. Let me calm down. I get upset sometimes. I gotta calm down. There's a lot of stuff that we need to talk about, though. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be brought onto the table. That's not being talked about. And I know people are listening to me. I know people are watching. A few of them hit my inbox. I done talked to a few what you would call celebrities. There's some brothers and sisters trying to get it done. But like I said, once again, I like where Cube is going. I like it. Once again, I liked ADOS. I just wanted to make adjustments there. I'm not African. That got nothing to do with me. And you calling yourself African, you may want to find that out before you start calling yourself African. Because the Africans I know what tribe they from. In Africa. They know what country they from. In Africa. They know who their ancestors are. In Africa. No, but they remember they captured us from there. Who captured you from who? So, you mean to tell me that some white folks all of a sudden know how to speak whatever African language you choose, decided to go over there and speak an African language and say, hey, I'll break a deal with y'all. Let me capture your whole tribe and I'm going to stick to a different language. Are you kidding me? You think they're going to how do you, what? Yeah, that's why I said white supremacy is an illusion. You giving them the power. What makes you, first of all, I dare anybody, professor at the I dare anybody to step out there and show me what took place in Africa for any white folk to capture Africans and safely leave Africa and work their way to South America. I dare you. Matter of fact, you welcomed on my platform. If you got proof, pull up. I'm waiting for that. Pull up. I dare you. Pull up. We're going to have to stop this. Everybody been lying, talking about, oh, we came from Africa. Who told you that? And that's what the problem is. And then we got people that were older than us. See, keep in mind, Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and James Brown and all of those
James Baldwin.
Fred Hampton, Floyd McKissick. There's so many people that I can name. Though they were young, younger than 40. Okay? So you got to think about the time period then. Back then, technically, they were young adults. So just like how we use the term nigger, they used the term black. They flipped it because black was derogatory at that time. I'm going to expose that to you all too. At that time, the word black was derogatory. And then it got flipped by that younger generation at that time. The Martin Luther King, everybody got flipped by the college students. That's why a lot of those people were bumping heads with people like the Black Panther Party. A lot of people didn't want to join that. They didn't agree with the black part. That's why. That's real talk. I'm going to be, all this stuff that I'm saying right now, I'm going to put out. You're going to see this in video format. I'm going to let the people of that time period tell you what was going on. Because Dane Calloway ain't got no time to be making anything up. We don't have time as a people to be making anything up. See, think about that. The anonymous writers of U.S. history took time to make that story up. It didn't just happen overnight, right? Took time. So this is a lot of stuff that we have to change. A lot of stuff that we have to adjust. This is a lot of stuff that we have to talk about. We got a dialogue about this. Things have to get changed. And yeah, I could calm down and have a general conversation with somebody. It's not a problem. I don't want people, I'm not going to make no promises now. I'm probably going to be passionate. But I don't want you to get, discouraged by that. We can have a general conversation, okay? We can have a general conversation, but we gotta take it from that conversation to the next step. To the very next step. Like what Cuba's doing. Cuba's actually going to these parties and seeing what's up. And whoever moved the fastest, he going. I don't see nothing wrong with that. And if you do, get off my channel. Unsubscribe. If you think Ice Cube is a coon, get off my channel. Unsubscribe. You in the wrong place. He's doing the right thing. Not only is he doing it for our people, he's also doing it for himself because he was curious. Once he saw George Floyd and all this police brutality happening, somebody just got killed last night in Philadelphia, or was it today? By 2 police officers. They said this guy had a knife, but come to find out, he was walking towards his mother, wrapping around a car, coming from out of the street where he was located, facing the police officers, dropped his knife, hit the corner, was trying to adjust his hair to talk to the police officers. He was upset, so it did look like he was charging at them, but that still doesn't give them the right to start shooting at him.
And they burning Philly down over that shit right now,
I mean, because even if you acknowledge, let's just say, for example, that he still continued to have that knife on him.
Wait a minute. Damn, he just,
spent $2.5 trillion over the term in office, my term.
Fox News alert, 8 o'clock in Philadelphia. Riots overnight there. 30 officers hurt and more than 30 people have been arrested after violence erupted overnight, Ainsley.
Several stores looted and damaged during the unrest there. The protests growing now after police shot and killed a man who had a knife and wouldn't put it down.
Look at this. Jackie Ibanez joins us live. She's been covering this story all night. Jackie, the sun's coming up and everything seems to be broken or stolen.
Yeah,
broken
now
or
it's time
stolen.
to look at what's left, Brian. Stephen Ainsley, one officer in critical condition this morning, and 29 other officers with minor injuries after chaos erupted in the streets of Philadelphia overnight, which you saw following a deadly police shooting just hours earlier. Hundreds of people marching through the streets demanding police reform before violence erupted. Protesters were seen looting, throwing bricks and rocks at officers, setting a cruiser on fire, and even running a sergeant over. Look at this.
Oh! He hit a cop! Oh my God, he hit a cop!
Unbelievable. A black pickup truck plowing through an intersection there. The sergeant was taken to the hospital with a broken leg. The driver was reportedly arrested. The unrest starting when police responded to a call about a man with a knife. He was later identified as 27-year-old Walter Wallace Jr. You can see him right here in this video. He reportedly approached two officers with the knife as they ordered him to drop it. A woman believed to be Wallace's mother begs officers not to shoot. When he moved them again, that's when the officers opened fire and shot several times. One of the officers drove Wallace to the hospital where he later died. Both officers involved have been taken off duty this morning while the city's district attorney investigates. Steve, Brian Ainsley.
All right, thank you very much. From the North Lawn of the White House, let's go to Alyssa Farah. She's the White House Director of Communications. Alyssa, good morning to you.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
The White House is located on Philadelphia Ave. That's funny.
Philadelphia started after that man was shot by police at 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon. There has been chaos and rioting throughout the night in Philly.
Absolutely. We're monitoring the situation closely. If necessary, we'll be standing by and prepared to deploy federal resources.
Stand by.
One thing clear, President Trump will not tolerate any violence directed at America's law enforcement. And look, the actual case, we're going to let the facts play out, let the investigation play out, but we will not tolerate lawlessness in our streets.
So, Alyssa, will you have to wait for the mayor of Philly to ask for help, or might you just send somebody in?
That's a question for DOJ and the Department of Homeland Security, but I know this president has made clear before, whether it was in Seattle or Portland or others, we're prepared to deploy federal law enforcement if necessary, so I'm sure those conversations are ongoing now. We won't tolerate unrest in our streets. We certainly will not tolerate violence against law enforcement.
And find your new iPhone charger? Use Anchor Nano instead. 3 times faster than new iPhone. Switch to Anchor Nano now to get the best charge for your iPhone.
My man was wearing this, I would be all over him. That smells really good. It smells like my guy's cologne. It smells really good, yeah. Really sexy.
That smells really good. I would use it, but like, if a guy smelled like that too, I'd be like, oh, I would use this on myself.
Most name brand bars and body washes you rub on your skin are classified by the FDA as synthetic detergent. It's not even real soap.
He was an activist with dreams of justice. She was a dreamer with her feet on the ground. An improbable love determined to triumph. This November 3rd, they will write their own. Change is possible.
That was going on as far as, everybody wanting to converse about Ice Cube's situation, and they're not actually talking about the point that he's making. And there's other topics correlating with voting that I wanted to get into as well. Of course, my other documentaries are already talking about that. Part 2's coming. I believe there might be a part 3 to part 2. It depends, because I'm adjusting that video right now. Once I adjust that video, then I'm going to release it. I just wanted to fix something up really quick before I release it. Then I'm going to release that one to the black vote. A lot of people think that their vote counts. And I'm still trying to understand how. How? What makes you think that your vote counts when you can't right now name any president in history that has done anything for our people in general? And I'm not talking about just handing us a check, you know. Like, for example, here's another example. Every single president know that we are going through, for example, this is just an example, that we are going through a form of police brutality. Year after year after year, and nothing changes.
Oh, this went back to the beginning.
Nothing. Once again, you think they're at them, but that still doesn't give them the right to start shooting at him. I mean, because even if you acknowledge, let's just say, for example, that he still continued to have that knife on him, that's not life-threatening to the point where you have to pull out a gun and kill him.
Don't try to take the knife from him. Just kill this motherfucker.
And that's why I feel Q, because the only reason why that's still happening is because, number one, the president can't do anything about it. Number one, it's been multiple. We can name so many people that have lost their lives due to police brutality, and not one president budged. Now that Trump ain't do a tweet, Obama ain't said a matter of fact, Obama, hold on, what was that video? Well, I do remember one time Obama shedded a few tears on national television, saying that it ain't right. And then right after that, he do nothing.
Which is they're real and they tell you the Texas
That just goes to show you how much power a president really has. They can't do anything. What's the point of wasting our time with him? But once again, like I said, there's nothing wrong with what Cuba's doing. There's nothing wrong with trying to see for yourself, to see what's going to happen. Now, when both sides make up their own crap and take bits and pieces out of his plan, and, you know, try to throw it into their little plan, oh, this is what we gonna do for black folk. Now, how long are you willing to wait to see if that plan is actually gonna become a reality where it just benefit only so-called black people? How long are you willing to wait? Because according to everybody else that died from police brutality, they ain't even have a chance to. They ain't even have a chance to live the rest of their life. They didn't even have time enough to catch their breath to say anything. Most of those men that were killed, and women that were killed by police, were unarmed. See, if you would ask me, dang, why is that going on? You know what I'm going to point to? The Black Codes of 1865. I keep saying this each and every time. There's no law, there's no form of legislation, none, that overrides the Black Codes of 1865. They are still in effect. That's why, and look, in the Black Codes of 1865, each state created their own. Now, that's besides the Christian codes. We ain't talking about the segregation laws, aka Jim Crow laws. We ain't talking about the Christian slave codes neither. I said Black Codes of 1865. Did ADOS mention that? anybody in any political congregation, anybody, did anybody mention at all, one time, Black Codes of 1865? One time, just one time. And don't act like you can't find it, because I done found plenty and put it on screen. Plenty. Read it verbatim, quoted it. So don't give me no BS. I know what's going on. And it's happening year after year after president after politician. Once again, it doesn't matter who you put in office when this government is working against you. This government is not for us and never has been. This government was copied from our ancestors and their previous government. Copied. Directly. And they made sure that it benefited them only. Well, who was them, Dane? Incoming foreigners, squatters. They ain't had no business here. That's how you know it wasn't that many adults coming until way later, because the few adults that came got killed. To put it in plain and simple terms. So what's the next best thing they could do? They sent their children. And you know how our people are, especially our beautiful women, when they see a child. Especially they already a mother. Remember the saying? It takes a village to raise a child? And our ancestors welcomed them squatters on our lands because they were children. They got adopted, grew up. Dane Calloway not making this up. I can't wait until I cannot wait until more and more of our people wake up. Because this coffee smells real good. Don't let it get cold. It's sitting on the table waiting for you. Go ahead, go smell it. It's Colombian. See? But yeah, this was a test stream. Y'all know how I am when I start talking. But this was a test stream. When I come back again, videos, pictures, screenshots of records. We're gonna jump. I'm gonna break down his land. I'm gonna break it down. I like his responses. I like how he don't play no games. I like that. I like that. That's very good. And y'all should be coming after those people that come after him. Because look, matter of fact, this is what it is. Anybody that come after Ice Cube of what he's doing, and they coming at him sideways, that's your enemy. Clearly. Clearly. That's your enemy. Clearly. Especially if you want something done for us, like how I do. If they against what Cube is doing, his proposed plan, y'all, this ain't even law. This is proposition. This not even law. And they giving him all this flick. That's how you know it's major. So yeah, I'm behind my brother, 100%. I'm behind him. Once again, I'm not here to make friends. I'm not. I'm here for the liberation of our people. That's why I'm here. I don't care if you Pan-African, Hebrew, Israelite, Christian, Moor, it doesn't matter. Muslim, it doesn't matter. If you for the liberation of our people, I'm with you, brother. I'm with you, sister. I'm with you. It's not about what you personally believe in. It's about what you know is wrong and what you know is right. And it's a lot of things that I can easily point out that's wrong. So that means that it's going to take a much bigger effort from all of us, a collaborative effort, in order to make things right. It's going to happen, though. It's going to happen. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. Period. It's going to happen. This should be the last straw. This should be the last straw. Let this Ice Cube plan. I'm telling you, if they brush this over, this should be the last straw. Everybody should focus on themselves without the need of a government. Well, without the need of this foreign government. Keep in mind, this is a foreign government. So, honestly, I don't want to wait. But if y'all want to do that, fine. Fine. See if it works. If it don't, here's the other plan. Here's the other plan. See? The only thing that's stopping us is us. We could be governing ourselves. We could create our own businesses. We could control our own banks. This ain't nothing new. This ain't nothing new. Let's just do this again. Yeah, they did stop some of the so-called Negro Wall Streets at the top of the 1900s. Whoa, that was in the middle, almost in the middle. 1920s and beyond. But who said we can't do that again? In each state. In each state. And see, and that's another thing. And those Jews back then, they saw that. They saw that. They saw that we were the owners of these banks and businesses during that time period. So they said, nah, we got to get good with them. That ain't how you know that. I already gave you the book. African Americans and American Jews. African Americans and American Jews. Get that book. It's telling you the relationship between the so-called African Americans. Actually, that was before it was changed to say African Americans and American Jews. It was saying the Negroes and the American Jews. So, I mean, but still, regardless, they didn't really take a lot of things out. You'll be able to see, you know, how that development came about as far as how some of these organizations came about as far as politically and what their agendas were and how it transitioned from our ancestors being the chairman and the CEOs of these particular banks that you're probably used to seeing right now into becoming, and into laying them off to the incoming Jews wanting to do business with them. And don't get it twisted. There's some good and bad in every race, okay? Now, I do know for a fact that I'm usually pointing out a lot of Jews that taught us a lot of this bad sociology, the BS, bad sociology that just so happened to be accumulated into what is known now as American history. Okay? Yes, there was a lot of Jews. And in fact, it still is to this day. We see what's going on. It's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, guys. So yes, there is some bad ones. All right, just like there's some bad ones of us that helped them. That helped them because they didn't do this on their own. That's why I said stop saying white supremacy as if it exists. When that plug can easily be pulled from the wall. Easily. Ain't no, and look, and don't allow them to make, because see, every time you say white supremacy, you're making yourself inferior. Immediately, that's a negative affirmation. You got to stop saying that. Just like black. These negative affirmations have to be eliminated from our vocabulary, especially when we're talking about liberating our people. That has to be, you know, some form of spiritual climb in there. We got to have some spirituality in there, guys. Like, We can't just sit up there and just fly out of our mouth and don't think that, yeah, that could possibly bring negativity back. You gotta be careful with what you're saying. You gotta be careful with the choice of words you use. Because as soon as you say black, you're calling yourself dead. Especially towards this government. They don't know who you are. There's no legislation claiming that you're black. None. So, I'm going to end it right there. We're going to do this again. I am going to pop up. I'm going to hop up a door. I don't know. I might make an announcement. We'll see. But I'm most likely I'm going to pop up. And I'm glad that everything is working. You guys are, you guys can hear me, and I can see the chat very well. I'm just so glad that everything is working out, because when I get this done, I'm probably going to do it this one time, especially dealing with this vote. Now, everything else, as far as what I talked about, as far as the correlating topics, of course, I'm going to elaborate more on it during the documentaries and probably the live streams to come. Especially the Easter egg Sundays. That's another thing, guys. I pushed some Easter egg Sundays I already had completed. I pushed them back because of this. I want to stay right here, because I'm noticing a lot of people are just regurgitating what he heard from somebody. They're not necessarily going to educate themselves to go look up this information to see if it has any truth to stand on. And if you don't, then you're more liable to be manipulated into believing something versus you actually knowing. And that way I can't trust you. And that's the reason why I like what Ice Cube did. Ice Cube said, nah, hold up, something wrong. And he went to go do the research for himself. And then he hired people that were, a little bit educated, that might have, be well-versed in researching, in which I would love to get on that research team. I'm going to tell you that right now. Cube, if you hear me, call me. I will go crazy with this research. I can guarantee you I could triple your research. Guaranteed. Right now. Guaranteed. I have these records. We will have a ball getting this stuff done. And that's what I want. And if it's another organization, look, y'all, I'm not trying to join no organization. I don't want to be down with the now, but I do want to play the background. And I would love to provide these documents to these people that's actually trying to get things done. I'm for that. And I don't want you guys to be afraid of me. I'm here. That's what I'm here for. Come on, contact me. Let's get this stuff done. What are we waiting for? Let's get this stuff done. And we shouldn't be the only ones doing it. It should be everybody pitching in, putting in there, pitching in everything that they are well-versed in. Why not? Why not? Pull all of our resources together. Let's get this done. Because we can do it. Yes, we can. And we don't need no Biden. We don't need no Trump. We don't need this government in order for us to do it. Period. I'm going to leave on that mark. Thank you all for coming out. Thank you all for the donations as well. Oh my goodness. Sister Laney. See, sister, you've been there since almost day one, and I really appreciate you, sister. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much. And thank you to everybody that was watching, that clicked like, that clicked share, that tried to post it on Facebook. Y'all know Facebook got me blocked, but even if you try, just try. Just try. I know how they are. I see YouTube doing similar things, and Twitter, everybody, I guess they want to calm the troops down while they attempt to get people's vote, attempt to get people's attention on, hey, look, guys, I'm the big influencer, and I want you to go get a vaccine, and all this stupidity that you about to see probably popping up. Cancel. We don't want none of that for real. But anyway, yeah, let me get up out of here, because I will keep going. Let me get up out of here. Very soon, you're going to see part 2 pop up to the black vote. One more I'm not even gonna mention that one, and the one that I'm working on with my wife, and then the Easter egg Sundays. In between that, I'm gonna be live streaming. We're definitely gonna be live streaming. So I'll see you all. So you all take care. Have a good evening. You know, stay blessed, stay positive with anything. Even though it's negativity all around you, that don't mean that your realm is filled with negativity. Just because it's around you, that don't mean it's you. Cancel all that away from you. Stay positive. Stay positive. Keep your head up. I love y'all. Wado.
Let's look at the statistics. The United States is home to 5% of the world's population, but 25% of the world's prisoners.
Yo, what's up?
Think about that.
Sure.
A little country with 5% of the world's population having 25% of the world's prisoners. 1 out of 4 human beings with their hands on bars, shackled in the world.
My God. My God.
Locked up.
My nigga. Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay. I'm calm. I'm good.
The United States has the highest rate of incarceration in the world.
I am sweating profusely. Like I'm just popping sweat all of a sudden. Oh my fucking God. Okay.
Gotten out of hand. But the very folks who operate show so much concern of the cost and the expanse of the system are often very unwilling to talk in a serious way about remedying the harm that's been done.
Bliss, oh my God, you are fucking amazing. What the fuck? I'm literally crying tears of joy right now. Like, this is so amazing, girl. Oh my fucking God, dude. Wow.
13th Amendment to the Constitution makes it unconstitutional.
And they just sent an email or what? What happened?
In other words, it grants freedom to all Americans. There are exceptions, including criminals.
There's a clause, a loophole.
If you have that embedded in the structure, in this constitutional language, then it's there to be used as a tool for whichever purpose one wants to use it.
One of the things that people have to bear in mind is that when we think about slavery, it was an economic system, and the demise of slavery at the end of the Civil War left the Southern economy in tatters. And so this presented a big question. There are 4 million people who were formerly property, and they were formerly kind of the integral part of the economic production system in the South, and now those people are free. And so what do you do with these people? How do you rebuild your economy? The 13th Amendment loophole was immediately exploited.
After the Civil War, African Americans were arrested in mass. It was the nation's first prison boom.
You were basically a slave again. The 13th Amendment says that, hey, except for criminals, everybody else is free. Well, now if you're criminalized, that doesn't apply to you.
They were arrested for extremely minor crimes like loitering or vagrancy.
And they had to
South after the Civil War.
What you got after that was on a rapid transition to a kind of mythology of black criminality. Go back and read the rhetoric that people used then. They would say that the Negro is out of control, that there's a threat of violence to white women. So the same sort of image we have Uncle Remus and these genial kind of black figures was replaced by this rapacious, menacing Negro male evil that had to be bashed.
Birth of a Nation was just a profoundly important cultural event.
It's the first major blockbuster film, hailed for both its artistic achievement and for its political commentary.
And when it was released, it had this rapturous response. There were lines, everywhere that it was being shown.
Birth of a Nation confirmed the story that many whites wanted to tell about the Civil War and its aftermath. To erase defeat and to take out of it sort of a martyrdom. Woodrow Wilson, the sitting president, had a private screening of Birth of a Nation in the White House. He calls it history written with lightning.
And every image you see of a black person is a demeaned, animal-like image. Cannibalistic, animalistic. The image of the African-American male.
This famous scene where a woman throws herself off a cliff rather than be raped by a black male criminal. In the film, you see black people being a threat to white women.
All the myths of black men as rapists was ultimately stemmed by the reality that the white political elite and the business establishment needed black bodies working.
What we overlook about Birth of a Nation was that it was also a tremendously accurate prediction of the way in which race would operate in the United States. Birth of a Nation was almost directly responsible for the rebirth of the Ku Klux Klan. It had received this romantic, glowing, heroic portrait. The Klan never had the ritual of burning the cross. That was something that D.W. Griffith came up with because he thought that it was a great cinematic image. So it was literally an instance of life imitating art.
The ripples emanate far out from just the simple fact that it's a movie in the early motion picture age.
With the tremendous burst of popularity that the Ku Klux Klan had as a result of Birth of a Nation, came another wave of terrorism.
We had lynchings in this country between Reconstruction and World War II. Thousands of African Americans murdered by mobs under the idea that they had done something criminal.
At the National Democratic Convention in New York in 1924, it is estimated that at least 350 delegates were Klansmen.
The demographic geography of this country was shaped by that era. We have African Americans in Los Angeles and Oakland and Chicago and Cleveland, Detroit, Boston, New York, and very few people appreciate that the African Americans in those communities did not go there as immigrants looking for new economic opportunities. They went there as refugees from terror.
We didn't just land in Oakland, in LA, in Compton, in Harlem, in Brownsville in 2015. This is generational trauma.
The letters KKK were carved with a penknife on the chest and stomach of this man in Houston, Texas, after he had been hanged by his knees from an oak tree and flogged with a chain.
The Chicago Negro boy, Emmett Till, is alleged to have paid unwelcome attention to Roaring Bryant's most attractive wife.
And then when it became unacceptable to engage in that kind of open terrorism. Then it shifted to something more legal, segregation, Jim Crow.
Laws were passed that relegated African Americans to a permanent second-class status.
These things really begin to live out the prophecy that Griffith was making about the way that race operates. And this fear of crime is central to all of this.
Every time you saw a sign that said white and color, every time you had to deal with the indignation of being told you can't go through the front door, every day you weren't allowed to vote, every day you weren't allowed to go to school, you were bearing a burden that was injurious.
Civil rights activists began to see the necessity of building not just a civil rights movement, but a human rights movement.
And I think we should start now preparing for the inevitable. And let us, when that moment comes, go into the situations that we confront with a great deal of dignity, sanity, and reasonableness.
They want to throw white children and colored children into the melting pot of integration, out of which will come a conglomerated, mulatto, mongrel class of people. Both races will be destroyed in so movement. We just got to look here on this end that the students are in.
Those were trying to integrate the bathing beaches, and the Florida Advisory Committee to the U.S. Civil Rights Commission warned that the city was becoming a racial super bomb with a short fuse.
Civil rights activists began to be portrayed in the media and among many politicians as criminals, people who were deliberately violating the laws, segregation laws that existed in the South.
For years now I have heard the word wait. It rings in the ear of every Negro with piercing familiarity. This wait has almost always meant never.
Yo, my bad, guys. I had just got a really important phone call I had to take just now. Damn, that shit was crazy. Oh my God, I just got an awesomely great, positive fucking phone call. Holy shit, son. Oh my God. Such a great phone call just now. So my day is... Bro. Oh. Yo, I'm so excited, yo. Like, this shit is crazy. I can hardly focus right now. Yo, once again, I can't tell you guys right now what it is, but just kidding, I still got to work. But yo, whenever I can share this information with you guys, I'm spill the beans. Damn, I can't wait to let motherfuckers know this shit. Yo, I'm telling you, that's how deep this fucking news was just now, bro. It's like, whoa, wait, what? You said what? They what? They did what? Oh my fucking god, I'm sweating. I just literally started fucking popping sweat for a second, bro. Like, oh my god. So it's all good though. That shit is good though. Like, whoa, bro, this is some good ass news. My nigga. Yo, this news is so good. So good. Best news ever. Can't even believe I got news like that this morning. What? You telling me stop fucking playing. Stop lying. You ain't lying? Oh my god, you not lying. Oh shit. Yo, that child support, that should be coming in handy, nigga. Be my weed money for the month. You know what I'm saying? I see why the women be loving that shit, yo. Get their hair done, nails done, child support. You know what I'm saying? Them Yeezys, them Yeezys come from child support shit. They only sent me 2 child support checks, though. I'm waiting on another one. And another one. And another one. I want more child support checks. I missed that shit now. Damn. I almost forgot I was getting child support for a minute. You know what I'm saying? I might have to call down to the family court. Ask what's up my child support payment this month. I ain't received my payment this month. Y'all holding out on me.
Who's a brilliant magician from Canada who I also adore.
Slow charging? Use Anchor Nano instead. 3 times faster than new iPhone.
It's really fast.
We did a show, and we did it for the audience. When you have the amazing Randy sitting on stage before the show, and then out in the audience during the show, like I remember being on stage and getting volunteers and doing stuff, and the only thing I cared about was looking at one seat in the audience and seeing whether or not he was smiling, whether or not he was nodding, whether or not he had a, because the approval of him while I'm on stage doing magic, one of the highlights of my life. I will miss him dearly, and I wasn't even a good friend with him. I mean, he's especially sorry for his husband, and for, Penn and Teller, who, I mean, there wouldn't be a Penn and Teller without Randy. I just a lot for the world, and I'm sorry, and I'll miss him, and I don't mean to go on for hours, but yeah, my world is a little dimmer, but that's okay because he made it so much brighter before he left, that I'm still much, much better off. So,
actually, I watched his TED Talk last night, the one where he chugged the sleeping pills and talked about the research lab that was tricked by a classic magician's trick using a matchbook. So,
and then there's Project Alpha. Just go watch the documentary and everything else. I am happy that I knew him. I miss him terribly, and the world is better off for his existence and worse that he's not here. So, well, we have callers waiting, and some of these calls may make claims that we can perhaps debunk a little bit, but mainly it's about interacting with people, finding out what they believe and why they think we should believe. So where are we going first, Shane?
I'm looking at what criteria to determine if a claim is extraordinary. That'd be Heath in Texas.
Great.
Heath.
How's it going? And Johnny. So yeah, you read my question correct. I basically I'm sort of building out my arsenal of street epistemology, and so I wanted to know how you can tell whether one belief is extraordinary or not, and how you can tell sort of which is there like a sort of scale or something like that. I wanted to hear your thoughts on it.
That's an interesting question. When I think of a claim as extraordinary, what I tend to think is, does this fit in line with what I have experienced in my years on this earth? Is it fit in every day? Sometimes we hear about scientific claims that seem extraordinary, and then usually it's backed up by research and data, and they can be explained in some regard. But as far as non-scientific extraordinary claims, like a Coke bottle flies across the room, I would say that doesn't fit in with my everyday experience of the extraordinary, and then I want to know more, just as I would with a scientific claim. So that's my definition, I think. I mean, and it ever expands as science progresses. More things tend to become ordinary when we have an explanation for it. Matt? that? Do you have a definition of an extraordinary claim?
So one of the things is that I did a video recently talking about how it's not so much that a claim is extraordinary itself, is the facts about the claim are either consistent with what we already know and understand about reality, or they are inconsistent with it. And so I don't know how this would work in a courtroom. So I'm glad Johnny's here, because he would know. But I tend to think of things, despite the fact that I'm not a lawyer, I tend to think of things in terms of a courtroom. And if you were to make a statement in a courtroom where opposition could object, ask that you offer some substantiation for that claim, if that's likely to happen, then I would say that that is a claim that is at least somewhat extraordinary. If you just say, you know, it's not like if Johnny's in court and says the sky is blue, nobody's going to demand that you provide evidence for that, or that gravity works, or that you know, I don't even know. And so largely, it's the famous claim is that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. And the thing is, all claims require however much evidence is required to warrant acceptance of that. And the only reason we point to some claims as extraordinary is because sometimes at face value and the available evidence, we already just accept something, and other things require a little more. So when you say, I have a pet dog, it's not that you're making a claim without evidence. It's you are making a claim that is consistent with all the evidence. We know that dogs exist. We know that people have dogs as pets. We know that people like to talk about, hey, I just got a new pet puppy and everything else. There's everything about your claim is consistent with everything everybody already recognizes about reality. As a matter of fact, anybody who came forward and said, what do you mean you got a dog? Prove that dogs exist. I mean, we would look at them a little askew. Departing from that is where you start to get into extraordinary claims. And all we're really saying is that we need to come with additional evidence beyond what we already know about reality for us to accept it.
Can I jump in real quick? You know, Johnny, you talked sort of about how it seems like the extraordinariness of a claim for you is subjective. Does that sound like a good representation of your?
I would say I have my own subjective experience, but I think that my experience of life is not really all that different from yours and Matt's in the day-to-day life. You know, I go to the grocery store, I go to sleep, I wake up, I go to the bathroom, I eat, I see people. There's object permanence. There's trees. There's clouds. And these are all ordinary things that I see every day, nothing out of the ordinary. But when something out of the ordinary happens, I think that in order for me if there's a claim of something that's out of the ordinary, I'm going to want to have explanations that will explain it in a way that makes sense to me. Now, in my life, I've never had an experience that I haven't been able to explain through ordinary means. Right? I hear a sound in the middle of the night. Well, it's probably my imagination. I see a shadow on the wall, and I lose track of what room I'm in. Oh, it's just I'm in a semi-dream state or something like that. But if I had a Coke bottle fly across the room and hover in front of me and start talking to me, I would start questioning whether this was an ordinary experience, and I would start seeking explanations to sort of bring it down to earth. In an ordinary way. I'm having a hallucination. My mind is drifting from its ordinary mental state. But it's never happened to me. So I guess it is subjective. There are people who have had these experiences, and some accept supernatural explanations. I don't know why they do. And some are quicker to go toward hallucination or some sort of a break in their mental health. I don't know what it might be, but go on with your question. Does that answer?
I was talking to my friend, and she claims that ghosts exist, and she claims that she has all these experiences that are unexplainable except by the existence of ghosts, but she couldn't see why that belief was extraordinary because she's had so many of these mystical experiences. So I was just trying to kind of figure out how I could explain to her that that belief is extraordinary. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, so she's explaining that she reached a conclusion. So we don't deny that she may have had these experiences that she can't explain, right? We're not calling her a liar. We're saying that, okay, you saw something, you experienced something, right? But now you jump to a conclusion that there's this realm outside of the ordinary. You're claiming now exists.
Yeah.
Why should we believe that it exists?
When she says this isn't explainable by anything other than ghosts. First of all, how do you know? How do you know that this is the only explanation? And B, when the only explanation that you have left is something that you have no good evidence for. You know, it's fundamentally identical to saying, I don't have any explanation for this other than magic, other than 20,000 other potential things that I can't prove. And so what we got is someone who's like, I had an experience, I want to understand it. The only thing that someone has presented to me that makes it somewhat make sense is that that doesn't mean that there's a ghost.
Karen, good morning.
That
I'm
just
doing
means
well.
that you haven't been presented with an explanation that is evidence-based and supportive of your actual proposition. And so it's not like your friend has evidence.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Yes. Electronic and an electronic email signature would be better, definitely. Okay. In the email. Okay, excellent. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Bye. That was one of the nurses from the orthopedic center about my leg, saying that they have to have me sign a release paper to give to the insurance company that's handling my short-term disability claim. So what they're saying is, hey, we believe you, but we need information from your doctors so that we know that you are definitely, disabled for a short while. But the doctors need my permission to give this insurance company my medical history. So she says every visit that I have to sign a release of information form so that they can see how many times I'm getting visits by the doctor and physical therapy and all this other stuff, I guess. So it makes sense. I get it. But she's email and I can just sign it in the email and do it that way. All right, guys. Probably be up here later on working on this piece a little more. Oh, I had a follow-up yesterday, and they gave me this, the permanent, the more permanent fiberglass cast. The other two, I guess they were just splints, and they were hard. They had plaster of Paris on it, but this shit is like, this is hard all the way around. Like, there's nothing soft on the outside of this shit at all. But yes, I had the other splint cast on there for 3 weeks. It was 2 weeks after the old school joint right here, y'all. So I wore it for 2 weeks after surgery, and then they took that one off yesterday and just really to look at the wound and look at the stitches and make sure it's healing right. And so the doctor really just wanted to see it. So they took that first splint off. She said it's looking good, it's healing nice. And then they put this on. Then they say I'll wear this for 2 more weeks. And then they'll go back, take this off in 2 weeks to look at it again. And if it's where she wants it to be, I think I'll start wearing a boot after that. And I'll start my physical therapy basically that same day or the next day after. My doctor said the next time she looks at my foot, she wants me to start therapy like immediately after that. So it could be that same day or the next day after, but she wants it very, very soon. Come on. I hate how this chair doesn't want to come up like that. But yeah, so in a couple weeks, maybe in about 3 weeks, I should be able to be walking on a boot at least, and not having crutches or this thing right here, and just use a boot to walk around. And then it'll be like 10 weeks of walking around in a boot. But I can imagine it's gonna feel funny because I haven't put any weight on my foot in weeks now. It's almost a month. I haven't put any weight on that foot. So I like I said, I can imagine when I go to stand on this foot and actually put weight on it for real, how that's gonna feel all weird and shit. But anyway, guys, I'm just gonna take a break from now. I've been up early. You can even sit down with this thing on you. I've been up since early this morning. Probably just try to find a snack and just chill for a minute. Definitely want to come back up here later on this afternoon and write some more words on these books. Get into a good pace now where all the books on the shelves in the background are almost done, and then I can start back working on the portrait now. So if I can fill in a few more books, when I come back I'll start adding more detail to her hair and to her face, and then adding the details to her jacket, her hands, and these 2 books in the main book will be the last things that I actually paint in. Like I say, just a few books here don't have a title. A few books right here have no titles on it. But once I can get titles on these little books right here, add a little more detail to this book, and then like I say, we'll start working on her and trying to make her stand out more. But yeah, it's looking nice. Alright, like I said, let me get out of here for a little while, guys. Appreciate y'all chilling in the studio early in the morning with me. And I'll holler at y'all next time. Peace.